All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 4 here on the podcast. Getting ready to talk some football. Joining me today, blast in the past of the old school podcast listeners. He is a good friend of mine. He's not a pitcher on the Dodgers or the catcher on the Dodgers, pitcher on the Royals, or the famous actor. He's now one of the co-hosts of the Sorry to Interrupt podcast. Will Smith is back with us. Will, how are you?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here. Happy to talk a little football, get my picks in. How you been, man?
I've been pretty good. I'm a little annoyed about the whole weather fiasco with the Mets and Braves down in Atlanta. That's a whole separate conversation. But football-wise, pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, you got a doubleheader on the last day of the season. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more as a sports fan, baseball fan. You got to hope the Mets pull through for you. But I'm looking forward to seeing those games as well. But NFL's right here. We got a big Thursday night game, so let's get into it.
Yeah, obviously, Will's a big Cowboys guy here, and what happened last weekend was very confusing, obviously. The Ravens come in 0-2. They control the ball for 35 minutes. They run for over 250 yards. The Cowboys try to come back late. It fails. What happened here this game?
So we got to start with the first thing, and I've said it before on my podcast a lot, Phillips. It's just this whole season, if it goes south, this is on Jerry Jones. You waited till an hour before kickoff to sign Dak Prescott, and then opened $25 million up in cap space where you could have signed Derrick Henry, who looked pretty good against us, Phillips. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I know. He's a Dallas guy. He wanted to be there.
And you waited to all that stuff. CeeDee Lamb held out. He's not on the same page as Dak. So it's these first 4 games that are preseason for the Cowboys. And I say it all the time. You can't win a Super Bowl in September, but you can miss the playoffs in September. And it comes up into a big game on Thursday. Offense looked great in the fourth quarter with about 12 minutes left. Before that, they're trying to develop a running game. We do not have a running back. You bring back Zeke, who had a good end of the season for the New England Patriots there. But we're averaging under 2 yards a carry, regardless of who's carrying the ball. If it's Deuce Vaughn, if it's Zeke, if it's Rico Dowdle. But at these times in the last 2 games, the Saints did the same thing to us. We don't have time to run the ball because before you know it, it's 7-0 right off the bat. And that it's a test to Zimmer's scheme. It's bad. You're putting a converted safety at linebacker. I don't know if they're trying to work in this kid Overshawn, who's a highly talented prospect we drafted in the second round, towards ACL. But this guy's a run-stopping linebacker. He runs about a 4.6, and he's like 240 pounds. But they keep putting this guy out there that's like 208 pounds. He's not going to be able to tackle anybody. So I don't know if it's just trying to figure out what works best for us. But it's a lot of problems on the defensive side. Offensively, if we could see what we saw in those last 10 minutes of the game, I'm happy. Jake Ferguson looks great. He's a solid tight end. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb had his problems with the drop, but Jalen Tolbert stepped up. So going forward, I don't even want to call this a bounce-back game on Thursday, Mike. The Giants beat the Browns. We beat the Browns, so we're right on the same page at 1-2. So I'm not going to say we're better than them. Maybe on paper with the athletes that we have, yes, but the game is played on the field.
Yeah. Obviously, this Giant game is very important here because you look ahead at that Cowboys schedule. It's not easy in the month of October. I mean, you got the trip to Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. You got a game against Detroit. Then you got the 49er game. The 49ers really might be much healthier by the time you see them later on here. So, in terms of the concern meter for the Cowboys, where is it right now on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's probably at an 8. Phillips, if we go and handle business against a Giants team that I think we're better than, great. But then show me it against the best defense in the NFL in Pittsburgh. You can come out with a win there, run the ball, get some hard yards, and win that game against the Pittsburgh team that's undefeated right now. And then obviously the Lions, they won the NFC North last year. They've been up and down so far this year, getting abused by Baker Mayfield. They look good against the Cardinals, but they're up and down. They're not the team that blew out teams by 40 points last year. So we'll see that. And then obviously San Francisco is always a loss for us, but I just want to be competitive there.
Yeah. Certainly a troubling spot here. And now, big game against the Giants on Thursday. Cowboys have owned this rivalry. I believe it's, I think it's like 6. They've gone 13-1 in their last, or it's something absurd. I think since 2017 they've lost once to the Giants over that span. And Giant fans obviously, they played the Browns well. They should have beaten Washington. They elevated a kicker. So Giant fans might sit there and say, hey, we could be 2-1 here. So what do you think about this game?
Exactly.
What's the key to this game?
So the key to this game is ball control in our favor. Try to get the run established, and then learn how to stop the run. Obviously, you had 2 great backs in Kamara and obviously Derrick Henry that you just played. And Singletary, who had a good year last year for the Houston Texans, can still be one of those guys that just runs the ball down your throat if you don't know how to stop it. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. That's what Dallas hasn't done in the last 2 games. They did against the Cleveland Browns. But also, our offensive line, young, we got 2 rookies starting on that. Giants have a great defensive line, so we got to build up that offensive line as well. But I think we have to control the ball and not make mistakes. And I think we win this game. I'm not going to say easily, Phillips, but I think we cover the spread.
Yeah, certainly interesting game for sure here. And track record-wise, you would say, okay, like Dallas has owned the Giants. You figure that will be the case again. But one thing I keep my eye on here, that the Dallas defense has not been very good the past 2 weeks when the transition to Mike Zimmer's system has not gone smoothly.
Yeah, I think it's all of a work in progress kind of thing. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out where to put Micah Parsons to elevate him to the best. Dan Quinn had no problem with that right off the bat, so that kind of worries me because he's not getting the pressures outside of week 1 where he had 10 pressures, which is a ridiculous number. But in the last 2 weeks, he has a combined 4 pressures in 2 games. So Zimmer doesn't know where to line them up, so I think he needs to figure that out. I think he does best at going at your least better tackle or over the center because he can make that one quick move and the center can't move that fast. And right there, he's in the backfield. So Dallas needs to figure out their defense. Right now, I'm not worried about their offense. Their running game obviously has problems that we talked about. But you saw what they did in the last 8 minutes when the Ravens knew we were going to pass the ball every time. And we still passed the ball and we scored 19 points in about 9.5 minutes. So if I could see somewhat of that offense going forward instead of okay, well, we got to establish the run and then we can work off the pass from there. No, you just pay Dak Prescott the highest paid contract in NFL history. Let the guy do his thing. He's the leader of your team. You have him for the next 4 to 5 years. Let him run this offense and we'll get runs off of that because then they're going to be scared of the pass and they're going to back those safeties up. And that's when these underperforming running backs can probably shine a little bit, though.
Yeah, for sure here. And we'll see how that game plays out tomorrow night. So we'll get to the picks, the reason why you're here. Our good friend Mike Kelly came by last week. He went 1-2 on the week. He had the Bucks laying a 6.5 against the Broncos. That turned out pretty ugly. He had the Saints laying a 2.5 against the Eagles. They end up blowing that game in the fourth quarter. He had the Bills laying the 5.5. They blew out the Jaguars. So 1-2 for Mike last week.
It's not a bad week. The Eagles should have lost that game to the Saints. The Saints were kind of playing with their food. I like to say that a lot. But they didn't compete there. And then just from the start of that Buccaneers game, Baker throws a bad pick, and it was all lines in that game.
Yeah. I had a better week. I went 2-1 on the week. I laid the point with the Colts against Chicago. They won that game at home. I laid the 4.5 with Seattle against Miami. They blew the Dolphins out with Skylar Thompson giving away to Tim Boyle at quarterback. I had the Bengals laying 7.5 on Monday night. I thought this was the bounce back spot for them, but they got torched by Jaden Daniels. Now they're 0-3, so 2-1 for me.
2-1 is what we like to call in the green, Phillips. So you're right on track there.
Yeah, I've been in the green all year. So far, Team Challengers is 3-6. I'm 6-2-1. I had a push week 1, so I'm off to a hot start.
Definitely a hot start. Let's see if we can cool that down a little bit, Phillips, with my pick.
All right, let's go ahead here. As time to make the picks for week 4. As the guest, you can go first. Where are you going with pick number 1?
Cowboys fan, if I didn't do it, Mike, I'm going to take the Cowboys -6 in MetLife against the Giants. Like you said, they held the rivalry there, so I'm going to go with the Cowboys, and I think they win by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I think this Cowboy game, it feels like if the Cowboys are going to do something this year, this should be one they take care of easily. If you're struggling with the Giants, I would be very, very worried.
Yeah, this could be a season ender for the Cowboys if they lose this game, so I'm hoping they win by at least a touchdown, so I get a little points in your spread there.
All right, that's pick number 1 for you. Where are you going with pick number 2?
So number 2, we're going to Vegas. I'm going to take the underdog Browns. These are 2 bad teams. I think the Browns kind of right the ship here. They cover the spread, and I'll go even more than that. So I think they're going to win this game against the Raiders. The Raiders just got dominated by Andy, the Red Rocket Dalton. So I think the Browns come away with a victory here, and they get back to 500 in the season.
Yeah, that's a terrifying pick for me to go anywhere near the Cleveland Browns right now, especially the way Deshaun Watson has looked. So you're a very brave man to take that game. I'm going nowhere near it.
Yeah. So I just feel something about the Browns. They're going to be 2-2. I don't trust the Raiders at all. They had that fluke win over the Ravens, and then you saw what the Ravens did to the Cowboys. And then you saw what they did against Carolina. So I'm going to go with the Browns in this game.
All right, it's pick 2. Where are you going with pick 3?
So pick 3, we're going to the desert. We're taking the Cardinals and the points. The Commanders just come off that big win against the Bengals, who are struggling to find a win. Jaden Daniels looked great. But I think they're riding the high too much, and then I think Kyler Murray's going to slice up that secondary, and they cover that spread.
Yeah, it was a 3-point spread you got, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that pick as well, just because, again, this feels like a kind of spot where you're the Commanders. You get this big win, and you're going on the road very full of yourself, and then short week, get smacked. I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
All right, so your picks are on the board now. I'm going to go up now, my first pick here. Pick number 1. I'm going to go to the NFC South, man. I'm going to take the Falcons laying 2.5 at home against the Saints here, and I think the Saints might have gotten exposed a little bit. They had some struggles here. Atlanta has played very well the last 2 weeks. They have to come back in Philly to beat the Eagles. They should have beaten the Chiefs if they get the PI call in the end zone, which goes completely ignored here. They're home. I feel like they're peaking well. We got some injury concerns with Alvin Kamara, who we talked about on the injury report with a couple of injuries this week. I feel like this is a game where this is sort of a big spot for the Falcons. I think that I'm getting less than a field goal at home. I'll take it. Give me the Falcons, pick 1.
See, I like that pick because I like how you said exposed. Falcons are a very good team running the football with Bijan Robinson, the dump-off passes that the Eagles exposed them. Falcons have a very good tight end who's been underused in the past couple of years, but you saw how good Dallas Goedert was against the Saints. So I like the Falcons minus 2.5 as well. That's a good pick.
All right, pick number 2. I'm laying the big one. I'm going to lay the 10 with the 49ers against the Patriots here, and we saw the Patriots look quite bad against the Jets here. I know they have extra rest. This is still flying across the country because they ticked off 49ers team, who is still better than they are. They had opportunities to win last week. They blew the game late. I think they take all their frustration out of the Patriots. They win by at least 2 touchdowns, and even with no Debo, even with no McCaffrey, even with no Kittle potentially, there's enough there that they can win by 2 touchdowns. Even the Niners laying the points.
See, this is a tough one because 10 points is a lot in the NFL. San Francisco 49ers are definitely a better team than New England Patriots. But I think the New England Patriots get some stops. I could see it being close, but maybe a backdoor cover for the Patriots to lose by 8 or something like that. Kind of one of those things. But I wouldn't be surprised at the same time if the 49ers were up 28-3 or 6 at halftime.
Yeah, because we saw with the Patriots week 3 that if you get in front of them and you stop Ramondre Stevenson, there's nothing they can do to get back in the football game.
Absolutely.
All right, pick number 3. Going to Sunday Night Football. I'm going to take the Ravens laying 2.5 at home against the Buffalo Bills. I know the Bills coming undefeated off the big win on Monday night. Short week, travel to Baltimore, which is one of the toughest places to play in the league. And the Ravens very easily could be 3-0. They blew 2 10-point leads week 2. They were a toe away from Isaiah Likely scoring the tying touchdown against the Chiefs in week 1. They get the big win week 3 against you guys. I think this is a get-right spot for the Ravens, and they announce we're back. I'm getting less than a touchdown again here, so less a field goal again. So give me that. Give me the Ravens at home. Wrapping up my picks of the week.
Yeah, that was one of the picks I looked at, too. I think the Ravens really figured something out in the running game, obviously, against Dallas. They didn't run the ball well in the first 2 weeks. But like you said, they should be 3-0 or could be 3-0. I do like that pick. The Bills are riding high after beating a bad Jacksonville team at home. I think this is one of those games that Josh Allen throws a couple little passes that are questionable, and the Ravens come away with the victory here.
Plus, I love the spot here. You're the Ravens, you're at home, you get the Bills off that game on a short week. That's something that you feel like that's a spot you could just run into a buzzsaw with them.
Absolutely.
All right, so to reset the picks of the week, Will has taken the Brownies getting 2 in Vegas on Sunday against the Raiders. His Cowboys laying 6 on Thursday night against the New York Football Giants. And the Cardinals laying the 3 points at home against the Washington Commanders. My picks, 3 favorites. The Ravens laying 2.5 on Sunday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. The 49ers laying the big wood with the 10 against the Patriots. And the Falcons laying 2.5 against the New Orleans Saints at NFC South Showdown. So those are your picks for week number 4 here on the podcast. And coming up next week on the podcast, we got a fun one here. The picks are going to drop a little later in the week. They're going to drop on Friday because I'm doing a split episode with the baseball playoff preview Monday, Tuesday, and this Friday. But another softball compatriot of ours, Viking fan Joey Castellano, is coming on here to talk some Jets-Vikings ahead of London next week.
I mean, that's going to be a great game. Sam Darnold, I wouldn't even call it a revenge game, but he has looked great this year. So that's going to be one hell of a game. I can't wait to wake up early and watch that game. Jets are starting to get on pace. Aaron Rodgers starting to get his legs underneath him. He looked phenomenal last Thursday. So that's going to be one hell of a game to start our Sunday.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun week 5. I'm going to wake up go grab a pumpkin muffin, get some coffee, and just get ready and watch some early morning football.
I love those Sunday early morning games when they're good games.
Yeah, this might be the best game in the international slate, I think, this year.
I would agree because we have to watch Giants Panthers in Germany this year.
And the Jaguars involved in the other two games. That's not exactly helpful.
Yes, very true.
All right. Well, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. People want to keep up with you guys over on the Sorry to Interrupt podcast. How can they do that?
Yeah, just check us off at Sorry Sports, Sorry to Interrupt on Instagram and Twitter. We talk back and forth about football, college, any sport you want to talk about, we talk about it. So, just subscribe and listen to us. You know, we got the three of us. We got Tommy and Shawnee. We always go at each other, and it's a fun listen.
Yeah, Tommy and Shawnee will both be on later in the year doing some picks. So I figure we get all you guys on different times because obviously a 3-man pick segment is a little chaotic.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate your time, Mike. Thanks for having me on.